A Supreme Court decision just came down, and almost nobody is explaining the real rule the right way. If you listen to the wrong people on this one, you could walk away thinking every gun law just got crushed, when that is absolutely not what happened. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I'm about to explain is the kind of legal update that can save you from making a very expensive mistake. Hit that button now, because gun law headlines move fast, but the truth moves slower. Here's what just happened. On June 5th, 2025, the United States Supreme Court issued a unanimous 9-0 ruling in a case called Smith Wesson Brands versus Estados Unidos Mexicanos. In plain English, Mexico sued several American gun makers. Mexico argued that those companies should be held responsible because many guns used by cartels were originally sold in the United States. Now, that sounds simple at first. A lot of people heard that headline and thought, okay, this is just another big gun case. But this is where it gets interesting. This was not a case about your concealed carry permit. It was not a case about whether you can own an AR-15. It was not a case about a magazine ban. And it was not a case where the court struck down gun control laws in all 50 states. So why does this matter to you? Because the court laid down a nationwide rule about when gun makers and gun sellers can be sued for crimes committed by other people. And that rule applies in every state because it comes from federal law. Let me break that down for you. Back in 2005, Congress passed a law called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. Most people just call it PLCAA. That law was designed to stop certain lawsuits against gun manufacturers and dealers when a criminal uses a gun to hurt someone. The basic idea is this: if a company lawfully makes or sells a legal product, it usually should not be blamed just because someone else later uses that product in a crime. Think about it like this: if a car company sells a truck and later a drunk driver uses that truck in a crime, you usually do not sue the car company for the drunk driver's actions. The same basic logic is behind PLCAA. But here's the crazy part. PLCAA does not block every lawsuit. There are exceptions. And the big fight in this case was over one of those exceptions. Mexico argued that the lawsuit should still go forward because the companies supposedly helped illegal gun sales happen. In legal language, that is called aiding and abetting. That phrase sounds fancy, but it means helping a crime happen on purpose. And this is the part that shocked a lot of people. All 9 justices agreed that Mexico's complaint did not do enough. The court said the lawsuit did not plausibly show that these gun makers intentionally helped dealers make illegal sales to traffickers. That word plausibly matters a lot. It means you cannot just make a broad accusation and hope the case survives. You need facts that make the claim believable, specific, and real. So the court basically said this: you cannot get around PLCAA by pointing at bad outcomes, pointing at crime, and then saying, well, the industry must have helped somehow. You need more than that. First thing to understand is what the court did say. The court said normal business activity is not the same as intentionally helping a crime. Selling a legal firearm through regular channels is not by itself aiding a criminal scheme. Marketing a legal firearm to the general public is not by itself proof that a company wanted traffickers to get guns. And failing to stop every bad actor down the line is not the same as joining the bad actor's crime. Second, the court made clear that helping a crime usually requires an affirmative act. That means doing something active, not just failing to do enough. In other words, a company usually has to take real steps to help the illegal conduct succeed. Third, the court warned that if broad claims like Mexico's were enough, then the exception would swallow the whole law. That means the exception would become so wide that the main protection in PLCAA would barely exist at all. And that is why this case matters so much. It did not erase gun laws, it did not create national concealed carry, but it did strengthen the shield that federal law gives to gun makers and sellers against broad blame the industry lawsuits. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the exact words that can protect you when police ask questions about your firearm. Subscribe now so you don't miss it, because that one could matter just as much in real life as this case does on paper. Now let me explain why this matters in the real world, because this is where most people get lost. A lot of viewers hear 9-0 Supreme Court ruling and think that must mean some massive win that changes everything overnight. But the truth is more specific and in some ways more important. This case tells lower courts across America how to read PLCAA. That means judges in every state now have strong guidance from the Supreme Court on what kind of lawsuit can move forward and what kind gets blocked early. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Let's say a criminal buys a gun through a straw purchaser. A straw purchase is when one person buys the gun for another person who cannot legally buy it. That is already illegal. Now imagine someone later sues the manufacturer and says, your gun ended up in a crime, so you should pay. Under this ruling, that claim does not automatically work. The person suing would need real facts showing the company itself did something to help that illegal sale happen on purpose. Not just that the gun existed, not just that crime happened, not just that the company sold a popular product. That is a huge difference. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. The court did not say gun companies are untouchable. That is another mistake people make. If a manufacturer or dealer actually breaks the law or actually joins illegal conduct, a case can still move forward under the right facts. The court did not shut that door. What it said was you need a real door to walk through. You cannot draw one on the wall with a marker and pretend it is there. So if a dealer knowingly helps straw purchases, ignores obvious red flags, or directly joins illegal sales, that is a different story. If a manufacturer truly participates in unlawful conduct, that is different too. But broad claims built on general industry behavior are much harder now. And that matters to you even if you never plan to sue anybody. Why? Because these lawsuits can shape the whole market. They can affect prices, insurance, product availability, and how companies market, distribute, and even design products. When the court limits broad liability, it affects the business climate around firearms nationwide. But here's the part nobody's talking about enough. This ruling is also a lesson in how careful you need to be with gun law headlines. Many creators will tell you this case destroyed state gun control or ended anti-gun lawsuits forever. That is not accurate. The ruling was important, but it was narrow in a very specific way. It was about civil liability. It was about what facts are needed to get around PLCAA. It was not a Second Amendment ruling like Bruin. It was not a carry case. It was not a possession case. It was not a ban case. So if you own guns, this is your warning. Do not celebrate the wrong thing. And do not relax in the wrong area. This case does not mean your state permit rules vanished. It does not mean local carry restrictions disappeared. It does not mean you can ignore transport laws, sensitive place rules, or state background check requirements. Now, quick legal note, this is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. Here's what most people get wrong next. They assume that because the vote was 9-0, the court must have become unanimously pro-gun in every context. That is not how this works. A unanimous vote only tells you that all 9 justices agreed on this legal question in this case. It does not mean they all agree on every future gun case. So what was the real bombshell? The real bombshell was not that the court rewrote gun rights overnight. The real bombshell was that all 9 justices agreed you cannot use vague industry-wide blame to dodge a federal shield law. That kind of agreement is rare, and lower courts will notice it. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the gun owners who get these updates before the headlines get twisted beyond recognition. Click subscribe and stay ahead of the next ruling. Let's talk about what this means for you day to day. If you are a gun owner, the biggest takeaway is not permission, it is clarity. This ruling gives more clarity about where civil blame starts and where it stops. That matters because legal confusion creates fear, and fear creates bad decisions. Imagine you own a small gun shop, you follow the law, you run background checks, you watch for red flags, you refuse sketchy sales. This ruling is good news for you because it says courts should not casually lump lawful businesses together with criminal traffickers. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine a bad dealer who knowingly looks the other way during straw purchases. This ruling does not save that dealer. That person can still face criminal charges, license problems, and civil exposure under the right facts. That contrast is important. Most people think the fight is between full immunity and no immunity, but the truth is more careful than that. The law protects lawful conduct, not unlawful conduct dressed up in a business shirt. Let me give you another hypothetical example. Say a company advertises a firearm using aggressive imagery. Some people may not like that. Some may say it is irresponsible, but under this ruling, dislike is not enough. Anger is not enough. A bad social effect is not enough. You still need facts showing intentional participation in illegal sales if you want to get around PLCAA in a case like this. And that is why this decision reaches all 50 states. Not because it wipes out every state gun law. It does not. It reaches all 50 states because PLCAA applies in both federal and state courts, and the Supreme Court just told everyone how the rule should be read. So if you hear someone say, the Supreme Court made a new gun rule for every American, the honest version is this. Yes, the court made a nationwide rule about lawsuits against the gun industry. No, it did not make one giant new carry rule for every gun owner. That difference could save you from sounding informed while actually being wrong. And in gun law, being almost right can still hurt you. Maybe you tell a friend, relax, the Supreme Court fixed it. Maybe your friend then ignores a local restriction, misunderstands transport law, or assumes a state ban is dead when it is not. That is how people get trapped. Not by evil master plans, by sloppy legal summaries. This is the part that shocked me most. The most important lesson from this case may be humility. Even a huge ruling can be powerful and limited at the same time. You can win a major legal point without winning every point, and if you are serious about protecting your rights, you have to learn that difference. Now let me give you the bottom line in plain English. First, this was a real Supreme Court win for the gun industry. Second, it was unanimous, which gives it extra weight. Third, it strengthened PLCAA by saying broad accusations are not enough. Fourth, it did not erase state gun laws or create a free pass for gun owners. Fifth, it reminds you to stop trusting clickbait and start reading the actual scope of a ruling. This information could literally matter for years as new lawsuits are filed and lower courts apply this standard. Subscribe now, because in the next video, I'm going to break down another major gun law mistake that thousands of owners make without even knowing it. So here's your takeaway. The Supreme Court did drop a 9-0 bombshell, but the bombshell was about lawsuits, not a magic reset button for every gun law in America. The new nationwide rule is simple. If someone wants to get around federal protections for lawful gun businesses, they need real facts showing intentional help in illegal conduct, not just broad blame after a crime happens. If you want clear gun law updates without the panic, without the hype, and without the fake victory laps, subscribe right now. And one last thing, this video is for education only. Laws change, facts matter, and your state rules may still be very different, so always check current law or talk to a qualified attorney before you act.